Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Meet the Professor series, a unique initiative that allows high school students to engage with Ashoka's stellar faculty. Here's your chance to join a conversation with your favorite Ashoka faculty and discuss the majors and minors, or learn about their innovative work, research projects, or any other aspects of the undergraduate program at Ashoka University. Thank you for joining us for today's session, Economics at Ashoka. I am Arsha Kohli, a second year economics with finance major with an entrepreneurship minor. I will be your host for the webinar. Joining us today is Professor Anisha Sharma, Assistant Professor of Economics at Ashoka University. Her research interests are in the area of development economics, labor economics, firms, and public policy. Professor Anisha completed her doctorate in economics from the University of Oxford in 2016. In her dissertation, she used survey data to study different dimensions of resource misallocation in Indonesia, in investments in education over time, in the transitions of workers across employment sectors, and in productivity increases across firms. Before that, she received an MSc in Financial Economics in 2008 and an MSc in Economics for Development in 2009 from Oxford, where she was a Rhodes Scholar, and a BA Honours in Economics in 2007 from St. Stephen's College, Delhi University. Welcome, Professor. Before we begin, I would like to inform our audience that applications for round 3 of the undergraduate program are open and the deadline for the same is 12 April 2024. Please note that you do not have to wait for your 12 board marks or CUET to apply. You can get a confirmed offer of admission and financial aid even before your final board results are announced. Now, without further delay, let's get started. We will first dive into some key aspects of the economics program at Ashoka and then take up some audience questions. Kindly type your questions in the Q&A box on your Zoom screen and we will take them up later. Over to you, Professor.
Hi everyone. Thank you very much, Arshia, for that introduction. Very nice to be a part of this event, and great to have a chance to interact with some students here. So as Arshia said, my name is Anisha Sharma. I'm a development economist, and I have a substantive interest in labor economics. I'm an applied economist, which means that I largely use data to try and understand economic questions of interest. You know, how do people decide what skills to invest in? How do they decide what major to complete? How do they decide whether to do a master's degree? How do they decide which occupations to select into? How do employers hire people? You know, those are some of the kinds of questions that I try to answer using data. I also teach at Ashoka University. I offer electives in my research areas, which are development economics and labor economics, and sometimes advanced econometrics as well. I also teach some kind of mandatory courses or core courses that everybody on our program is expected to take, such as maths or econometrics. So let me start by just telling you a little bit about our degree and about our university, our department, I should say, and I'm happy to kind of take questions after that. I'm going to share some slides. Just give me 1 second. I hope you can see them. If you can't, just give me a shout. Okay, so that's a kind of a nice picture of our campus, of a central area of our campus. That's the central courtyard just behind the atrium. And so you see a lot of students there because the mess is right there. And so our department at Ashoka, our economics department, was ranked #1 by an organization in 2020. This is the #1 department in India, I should say, on the basis of the research that we've generated. I'll tell you a little bit more about our faculty in just a bit that is doing all of this research. But first, about the UG economics program. I think a couple of things make our program a little bit different from the other undergraduate economics programs that are offered in this country. The first is obviously that we focus on delivering core or fundamental skills in economics. To this extent, I guess we're similar to various economic programs around the world. We do micro, macro, stats, and econometrics. We have access to kind of a lot of software that's used by researchers and economists around the world, and so we train students on the use of that software to do data analysis. And we offer a wide range of electives which are of interest to students, and that allow students to develop interests in elective areas of their or that they would like to pursue. We have interdisciplinary majors as well, not just economics. We have an economics and finance major, which is really popular, and a couple of others too: politics, philosophy, and economics, so the PPE degree, and economics and history as well. As you know, there's kind of been a recent change in how degrees in India are being offered. And according to the new education policy guidelines, the standard undergraduate degree is now going to be um, 4 years long, right? And so our program as well is now migrating to this 4 year format. Within that format, we have a BA honors in economics. We have a BA honors with research in economics. So that's a special research track where students get an opportunity to do original research of their own. And we have those same options with economics and finance as well. The NEP also allows for students to exit after 3 years. And so at Ashoka, obviously, we comply with that. And so we have a 3 year option, which is kind of a shortened or mini option of the same degree too, where you can do a BA honors in economics in 3 years or economics and finance in 3 years. This is my little plug for the 4 year degree and my unsolicited advice to all of you out there. A fourth year can seem very burdensome to you now when you're 17 or 18 years old. But the idea is that we're really going to shift to the US system in the long run. And just like if you see a US undergrad today, an undergrad major today who completed their degree in 3 years, or I should say stopped studying after 3 years, you're going to wonder, well, why didn't they complete the 4 year degree? That's very much going to become the norm in India as well. So it may be tempting to think about opting out in 3 years and doing something else or working or whatever it is. But I think it's more useful to really think about what's the best way to make the most out of a 4 year degree anywhere in India, whether that's at Ashoka or Delhi University or whatever other university of choice that you have. It's a good length, and at the right university, you can get a lot of opportunities to explore the subject of your choice as well as other subjects along the way. Okay. What the course curriculum is, as I said, it's reasonably straightforward and similar to what programs around the world offer. We have a bunch of core courses that all economists must do as a part of their undergraduate degree. The first two of those, Intro to Economics and Maths for Economics, students typically take in their first year. Stats, econometrics, micro, macro, students will typically do in their second year. And development economics and advanced micro, macro, and econometrics. So think of those as micro, macro, econometrics 3. Those students will typically take in their third year. In a 4 year degree, of course, you have a little more space to stagger these courses out a little bit, right, across the 4 year program. We also offer a large number of electives. Some students very kindly help prepare this presentation deck for us. They put down 7 options here, but I can assure you we have many more. The course that I offer, labor economics, is not on this list, for example. And there are several more that are offered, political economy and so on. In terms of research opportunities, we have many, many different avenues through which students can pursue research. I can tell you about some of them. I mean, one is that students will get a chance to do a research project as a part of one of these electives that's listed here. Many of the applied electives actually encourage students to submit a final paper, either in groups or in pairs or by themselves, which involves doing some kind of original research or getting your hands dirty with some kind of data. So even as a part of your coursework, you'll get a chance to get some exposure to research. And beyond that, of course, we have these research tracks now that have been introduced as a part of the 4 year program. And those tracks will allow students to engage more deeply in research, right? You'll have to take research credits, which will typically involve writing something like a dissertation. Again, we are very proud of the fact that our students who have done 4th year dissertations so far have done original work. Some of that work has even been published in leading academic journals as well. That is some of our faculty. I guess they only had pictures for slots for 10 pictures, but we do have 27 full-time faculty members, and that makes us the largest department in the country. This has huge benefits, right? Just in terms of the electives we can offer, in terms of the exposure that you can get to different kinds of research, to different kinds of thinking, and different people that you can actually work with and intern with at different points in your in your trajectory. The 10 chosen here is mostly random. We've got some of our senior professors up there and then just kind of a few others. But Ashwini Deshpande is the head of our department right now. Yeah, we said a little bit about research opportunities. I mentioned a little bit about research opportunities earlier. I should also say that we have a lot of events on campus and visits from renowned economists from around the world, which I think really gives our students an opportunity to interact with some of the top kind of thinkers in economics. I don't expect high school students to necessarily recognize these names, but I can assure you that that all of them are leaders in their fields. We are currently being visited by Professor Maitreesh Ghatak. He gave a lecture, a very well-attended lecture a couple of days ago on campus. More than 100 students, undergraduate students showed up. He was talking about development, poverty, and inequality. It was very much a lecture that was pitched at an undergraduate audience, and so there was wonderful engagement, I believe. A lot of students showed a great deal of interest in the themes that he was talking about. When we do have these top economists visit, we also organize workshops in subfields where we will have people presenting research papers. So this is usually a little bit more advanced, but in macroeconomics, behavioral and experimental, computer science, development, and so on. We have an annual conference every year in December, and we also have a weekly research seminar series where we try and get in 13 talks in each of the 2 terms. In terms of research projects for students, as I said, you will end up doing some research in your undergraduate degree, even if you don't take the research track. And I should also mention that a lot of our students who are interested in research get a chance to work with us, different professors as research assistants. We hire students who will help us with data collection, data analysis, data cleaning, literature review, various kinds of things. Right now I have a couple of students, a 4th-year student and a 3rd-year student who are working with me. And of course, I know many of my colleagues also work directly with students. So as I said, we're the largest department in the country. And so there are plenty of opportunities to kind of, again, get some exposure to research. I should say, not just in the economics department, some of our students have worked with sociologists, with people working on the environment, and with some computer science professors as well. What are our alumni doing? Well, a whole lot of things. And again, of course, we are kind of limited by what we can fit onto this slide, onto a single slide. But I will say, kind of a few categories of things that that people are doing. I mean, obviously, a lot of students will be working in various corporates around the country. I wouldn't call JPAL a corporate there, but then we also have a kind of a large number of organizations that do research or development oriented policy making. That includes JPAL, but that includes a number of other organizations as well. So a lot of students want to work in social impact, will opt for a job in one of those sectors. A number of our students will go on either immediately after the degree or eventually to master's programs, MBA programs, and even PhD programs. So, for example, one of our students who just finished who finished the undergraduate degree at Ashoka and then went on to do the master's in economics also at Ashoka. He has just joined Oxford as a Rhodes Scholar, where he is going to be doing a PhD in economics there. One of our undergraduate students from a few years ago, she went directly to a PhD program in Penn State, which again is a very prestigious program, and so that was an amazing outcome for her as well. A lot of our master's students are working in PhD programs, top PhD programs around the world, including Princeton, University of British Columbia, Oxford, as I said, and so on. A lot of our students do master's programs in different fields, many in economics, some in finance, some in economics and data science, some in economics and development, and different kind of programs around the world again. And of course, a number of our students will also end up doing MBAs at some point in their career trajectory. So yeah, I guess stop there. I think I've just kind of covered some of the things that our students are doing. Some of the things that researchers at Ashoka are doing. I'm happy to take questions about any of these things, what students do, what our course is like, and what research at Ashoka is like as well. Or indeed to talk about my own research, anything that takes your interest.
Thank you so much, Professor, for that presentation. We have a few questions, so I'll just say it out loud. The first question is, are there any study abroad opportunities for a summer or semester for students at Ashoka? Does the university have tie-ups with other global institutions?
Yes, there are. I think there's quite a lot of information about this on the website as well. There are two kinds of study abroad opportunities that take place. Well, I should say there are two times that they take place and two kinds that take place. So the times are either in summer, where you will typically enroll in a program for 6 to 8 weeks, sometimes even less. And there is, of course, the opportunity to do a full semester away, which will typically be, 12 to 16 weeks long. In terms of the kinds of tie-ups, some of them with which we have a kind of a close relationship, those are programs where you can study while kind of remaining on the Ashoka, fee system. So you get an opportunity to study abroad at a tie-up at a university with which we have a partnership while only paying Ashoka fees. So, obviously that's an amazing opportunity. There's a limited number of programs with which we have that tie-up. And the other is, of course, you can enroll in any program around the world and pay the fees or figure out some way of funding that yourself. And that opportunity is always available to you. The only constraint is that in order for the course that you do, especially if it's a semester abroad, but even if it's a summer abroad, in order for that course to count towards your degree credits, it's got to match the standards of a degree that we offer at Ashoka. So if, for example, you want to do a course in econometrics or micro theory or something basic like that, it's got to be kind of similar to the kind of to the types of courses that we offer. If it's an elective, then it can be different in terms of curriculum, but it must be at the level of the courses we offer, which is typically a 300 or 3000 level or 4000 level degree. So the process is that you select a course, you make sure it gets approved by the head of the department, and then you are free to apply for it. If you get in, that's great. And if you get in with this massive fee subsidy, that's even greater. Yeah.
Another additional thing to that is we have a GESP office, which is Global Education and Strategic Partnership. So the faculty is very flexible about the hours. You can set up meeting over mail, and they provide you entire guidance about how to choose the course and how to go about the application process. Professor, next question we have about your research. The question says, can you please talk about your research interests and some projects that you're currently working on? Are there any students assisting you in your research?
Okay, I'm happy to do that. Thank you for that question and thank you for your interest. So, as I said, I'm a development economist with a substantive interest in labor economics. And so my research has covered different aspects of labor markets, engaging with both individuals. So, how do they decide what kinds of skills to acquire or to invest in? And also now more recently from the perspective of firms, how do firms decide what kind of people to hire and how to invest in workplace conditions. So I'll give you some examples of some projects that I've worked on in labor economics. I've also done some stuff outside of labor, but that'll become too long. So for example, I did one study that looked at gender gaps in how students enroll for different kinds of degrees, and in particular the STEM enrollment gap. And what my co-author and I try to do is estimate a model, a quantitative model of what explains why women enroll in arts, humanities, and social sciences compared to why they're more likely to enroll in those programs than men are, and conversely why they're less likely to enroll in STEM majors than men are. And we had a bunch of interesting findings. Some of it relates to women just feeling like they don't belong in these kinds of projects. Some of it relating to thinking that they won't get high grades in these kinds of programs. Which interestingly is not backed up by the data, right? The grades are actually quite high across both men and women in our sample. Another project I'm working on right now is a field experiment where we are trying to offer women an opportunity to acquire skills in vocational training and to see, what are the kind of constraints that hold them back from taking up these kinds of training projects. These are women in rural areas in India. And so they face a lot of kind of social challenges in terms of convincing their parents or their husbands or their families that it's acceptable for them to work at all. And even if it's acceptable to work, to get a job outside the house, so not just doing something at home, running a household business, but leaving the home and working somewhere else, even migrating for work. And so that's quite a challenging social norm issue to solve. And so we're seeing whether, kind of providing exposure to role models who are the young women from their communities who have succeeded, whether that can change their minds, change their aspirations, and convince their parents that these are useful jobs to take up. And finally, another set of projects I'm currently working on relate to what can we do to get firms to invest in safer workplaces for women, and in another project, what can we do to convince employers of small firms to improve working conditions for their workers, whether male or female. This is kind of, in one sense, we're trying to think about why it is that workers underinvest in workplace amenities. Do they think it doesn't matter? Do they think that they are able to attract high quality workers even when they don't treat them very well? And why do they feel that way? Is it that they just don't know what they're doing? Or is it that that they aren't aware of how important some of these issues are for their employees? So some of the things we're doing is providing information to firms about, for example, things they can do to make workplaces safer for women, things they can do to make working conditions better for their workers, and seeing whether they respond to this information in terms of improving outcomes for their workers. So these latter two examples are projects where we're doing primary data collection. And we're running things called randomized controlled trials in the field to try and get a good estimate of whether the interventions that we're piloting actually work. Some of the other projects I work on also involve using kind of available secondary data, large data sets, household surveys, firm surveys, census data, and so on to try and answer some of these kinds of questions. Okay, I should stop there, but I'm happy to take any follow-up questions if you have any. Oh, sorry, there was a second part of that question, which is that do I have students working for me? Yes, right now I have two. A fourth-year student who's helping me as an RA on some of my projects, and so she kind of helps with data cleaning, data analysis, and so on. And I have another student who is working on one of these projects that I just described, and so she's monitoring data as it's coming in from the field. So we have a survey team that's in the field that's surveying women in rural areas. They kind of upload the data that they collect every day on their tablets. That gets uploaded to the cloud, and my RA, who is a third year student here, she downloads the data, monitors it, checks whether everything's going according to plan, and keeps tabs on the surveying process. Once the surveying is done, she will also help me with things like data analysis and data cleaning as well. So that's a couple of students who are working for me right now. I should say that many professors work with students on different projects, right? And different people have different research interests. And so typically you'll get quite a wide range of options in terms of the kinds of projects that you will get a chance to work on.
Right. Thank you so much, Professor. We have a follow-up question about your profile. It's what made you passionate about development economics?
Oh, that's a good question. It's a tough question. I studied at Oxford, as I think Arshia already mentioned. I did a couple of degrees there. I did an MSc in economics for development, and I really enjoyed it. I think the themes were fascinating to me, and they felt real to me in a way that maybe they don't feel so real to students who were sitting in my classroom and who were not from a developing country context. Obviously, I don't come from a kind of a underprivileged background, so I don't think I have a strong personal story for why development speaks to me. But it's certainly something that I've taken an interest in just from a policy perspective. Seeing and trying to understand how poor countries like ours grapple with the challenges of expanding and growing over time, and how they can harness that growth to try and improve the living conditions of workers and of households and of people, right, who live there. After Oxford, I worked for a couple of years in a policy role for the South African government. It was a kind of a really nice fellowship scheme run by the Overseas Development Institute, the ODI fellowship scheme, which hires young economists to work around the world in partnering public sectors. So public sectors of, I think, some 20, 30 countries around the world. And so that really gave me anyway, an insight into how policy making works. What are the compulsions of politics, plus constraints of capacity, plus, of course, the actual targets that you want to implement on the ground. It was a kind of a great eye-opening opportunity. After that, yeah, after that, I thought I should pursue some of these interests in a little more detail. And so that's why I ended up doing a PhD again in development. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Professor. Another question we have is about the course. How challenging is the program at Ashoka?
I would say it's not more or less challenging than an undergraduate program anywhere else in the country. And I would say among leading universities. So let's take, I don't know, Delhi University as an example. I only mentioned DU because it's large and I went there. So my own undergraduate experience is very much, I went to St. Stephen's College. And so I know that program a little bit. Of course, Calcutta University, other universities in the country all offer similar programs. I don't think the programs are that different. I think the format of an undergraduate economics degree is quite straightforward in that you have to do some prep, which is usually maths for econ, and stats, and then you do kind of foundational economics, which is macro, and econometrics. And then you build on that. You use the tools that you get through macro econometrics to explore fields of your interest, whether it's development or it's economic theory or it's behavioral economics or it's financial economics or whatever it is. And so that structure, I think, is similar everywhere. Um, the degrees are quantitative in nature, and I think that is true in it is as true in Delhi University as it is in Ashoka. I don't think we are more or less quantitative or anything like that. But I think, as I said, what we do give students an opportunity to do is to be creative and drive their own research, right? Whether it's in a kind of a mini project way, which you do as a part of a standard course, or whether it's you pursuing your own research interests, over a year or even a full semester. I think that is an opportunity that we are able to give that other universities maybe aren't able to give. There are many students, at colleges across Delhi who are very passionate about research and really want to do projects themselves. And of course, they're very bright and they're brilliant students as well. And so many of them will reach out to me and ask for opportunities or try and share some of their project work with me. And I must say, it does strike me that the work of our students is just so much more polished than anything that I have seen other students submit. And I think the reason for that is really just exposure, right? They've had an opportunity to see what good quality research looks like. And they have an opportunity to get a lot of hand holding and a lot of kind of a lot of help with improving the quality of their project work, including access, on your desktops to high quality software that you really need to do good data analysis. And I think that's really where our program stands out. So it's not that it's more difficult, it's just that there are more opportunities to pursue.
Another thing to add to that is all the professors, like the entire faculty at Ashoka, they are very accessible to all of us. So you can also book office hours if you are feeling that there's some concept that's not clear. So in that ways, it makes learning economics, at least for me, it made it very easy. So that's
Thank
all.
you, Arshia. Thank you for saying that, Arshia. Yeah.
Just a follow-up question about the program. Is it necessary to have a math background? Is commerce student without math eligible for this program?
Uh, that's a very good question. I must say we have this kind of we have this debate quite a bit. I mean, I will say I think I hope I get this right, and the admissions team can correct me if I'm wrong. I think almost all of our students will have done maths in class 11 and 12. I think the ones that haven't, there have been exceptionally few. I think they do a calculus enabler course these days, which is made available to them in their first semester. That's offered by the maths department. And I think if you can get a high enough grade on the calculus enabler maths department course, I think maybe the department will be willing to overlook the fact that you haven't done class 11 and 12 maths. There is a pathway to do economics. But I will also flag that while economics, I don't think the math we use is particularly difficult. It doesn't rise beyond a high school level. But there's a lot of it, right? And so certainly you cannot be intimidated by maths, and certainly not by calculus. If you find math intimidating, you will find an economics major difficult, right? And that's true anywhere, not just at Ashoka. So I think if you are a student who hasn't done maths in 11 and 12, also make sure you're a student who likes maths and you didn't do it for some other reason, but you do like maths and you're able to put in the additional effort you need to be familiar with it, to be comfortable with it, and not to be not intimidated by it. That's important.
Just another additional thing. All the core courses start from second semester of the first year. So, calculus is offered in the first semester, so you will be at par by when you start the core courses with the other people who have done math earlier. So that will also give you the leeway. One more question is a student with applied math eligible for this course?
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
the applied one. Yeah, I think you mean the CBSE course. CBSE has a course called Applied Math, right? Yeah, I think that's fine. Like I said, you even if you don't have math, you can do this calculus enabler. And so if you have applied math and you're worried about your calculus, probably a good idea to do the calculus enabler anyway. It's just that you must be happy to work with maths at a high school level. It really doesn't rise too far beyond the high school level. We do a few additional tools that economists tend to use a lot, but they build very much on high school level skills. But there's just quite a lot of exposure to it. So you should be happy to work in a mathematical language. Yeah.
yeah. Another question is, what is the student to teacher ratio for economics? How big is the batch size for eco program?
It keeps increasing. It keeps increasing, but so does our faculty. So let me tell you, like, just from the current batch sizes, right? I am teaching econometrics right now. This is a second year course. It's a core course, and so every student has to take it. And so in our second year batch, my section has 50 students in it. Our course is capped at 50, and so that is the maximum size of those mandatory courses. Each course has a teaching fellow assigned to it, and a teaching fellow is typically somebody is a full-time employee at Ashoka. They're part of the teaching staff. They typically have a master's in economics, and they will hold parallel discussion sessions that take place, for an hour or a couple of hours every week. That will allow you that will support the main faculty who's taking the course in making sure that you understand all the concepts, helping you with problem sets, helping you with projects, and so on. So there's a lot of support. There are two people supporting each class of 50 students. We currently have 6 sections of econometrics being offered. I think all of them are almost full, so maybe just a little below 300 students in this current second year batch. The elective courses, that can vary a lot because we allow for a lot of electives, and because students opt into elective courses. You could have an elective course with 5 students and you could have one with 50 students as well. So that will vary quite a bit. I think we try to cap our elective courses at typically around 35 or 40. But there may be exceptions in some years for a really popular course that everybody wants to take, or something like that. As I said, economics is a popular major, so that does increase year on year. As our batch intake increases, the number of economic students will obviously increase, but we also hire new faculty every year.
Another question is about the mismatch of a major and minor. Will economics student be able to minor in unrelated departments like physics or computer science?
Yes, absolutely. That is one of the nice things of being in a kind of a liberal arts university. You can do a minor in any subject that you like. The 4-year degree, I think, will allow for more space to do that sort of thing. Until now, students used to do a 3-year degree, and then in their fourth year, which was not a part of the 4-year degree, but in their fourth year, they would pursue minors of their interest, right? So some of my students, my former students, have minored in history. Many minor in maths and computer science because for kind of obvious reasons, those are relatively closely aligned to economics. Students minor in psychology, sociology, political science as well. So yes to all of those.
Right. So even some of my friends are doing economics and literature, and you get a sense of all of these things in the foundation courses you do. So the foundational courses offer a wide variety of every course from almost every major. So when you do that, you get a sense of what interests you other than economics or like physics, chemistry. So that kind of mismatching is obviously available. One more question is, what is the difference between BSc and BA economics? Are both offered at Ashoka?
Honestly, the difference is just the letters. Literally, the only difference is the letters. I have no idea why the finance degree is a BSc, the economics and finance degree, and the economics degree is a BA. The courses are identical. Finance students take the same economics courses that the economics students take. The finance students just take 4 electives. And there's absolutely nothing more scientific about the finance electives than the economics electives. So I don't know why that happened. I think it's one of those those quirks, something related to how you apply it to the UGC and what they approved and so on. So there is no difference in the BA and the BSc degrees. I will also point out, because I know that this gives a lot of students who maybe aren't that informed about things, that gives them a lot of anxiety. They think a BSc looks better or sounds better. I think most recruiters are aware that this really does not matter. Certainly, master's programs are aware that the name of your degree does not offer some special insight into the skills that students get. As I said, I went to St. Stephen's College. I got a BA. Everybody got a BA there. And that certainly didn't make me more or less, positioned to take advantage of job opportunities and master's programs compared to, somebody who had a BSc from Calcutta University. It really doesn't matter. Don't think too much about it. Think about substantive things like what do you want to study, what courses do you want to do, what kinds of electives would you like to do, what kind of research projects would you like to do, and so on.
Thank you so much, Professor. Another question is about the placements. What are the campus placements like?
I feel like Arshia, you can help out here. But okay, let me just say that there is a career development office that supports students in applying to internships to some extent, and certainly final placements to a very large extent. We get a large number of recruiters who come to campus to recruit, and some may not come to campus, but CDO will help you link to them and apply to them independently. There's a lot of support in terms of brushing up your resume writing skills, your interviewing skills, any other skills that will improve your ability to get a job. Large number of corporates, I would say some of the more popular sectors are, of course, banking and finance, data analytics, consultancy, of course, and kind of a large number of think tanks that are also recruit now from Ashoka and social impact firms. So by that I mean basically firms working in different parts of development, right? And so they're doing either research or policy analysis, or trying to support social impact projects on the ground. So a very large number of them will also recruit from Ashoka. Yeah, Arshia, you should add whatever I've missed out, which I'm sure is a lot.
So we have a platform called Superset, which is run by CDO, and all of the Ashoka students are registered there, and our resume is made officially of Ashoka through there. All the internship opportunities which come in every placement cycle, which is every summer vacation and the winter vacation, we apply through that and we get interviews. There is interview prep plus, as Professor mentioned, resume brushing up skills. The CDO also allots us a POC who would help us with the entire interview process and the entire applications, because it gets a bit stressful as you go towards your final placement year. Like Professor also mentioned about the companies in the banking and finance, some companies that are big names in consultancy like Bain, BCG, Deloitte, KPMG, all of those come here for placements. So the placement is quite good, Ashoka. Just another question about economics with finance. It is said that economics is excellent at Ashoka, but how is finance at Ashoka?
Fair question. I think we definitely have fewer faculty who teach finance courses compared to economics, right? So you will not get the range of financial economics options that you will do in kind of regular economics, right? Just in terms of the numbers that you get. So typically you'll get maybe 4 or 5 options for 4 electives that you need to take. So I think it really depends on people who want to do finance and just really interested in exploring that subject, and so they'll do whatever the options are that are made available to them. Whereas in economics, if you're either just not interested in finance, in which case you can pursue whatever elective options you like. So if finance students also get to do some econ electives, so it's not that you can't do any of the economics electives. It's just that you will have to balance that number with the additional courses that you want to do in finance. So I hope that answers your question. I don't know too many programs that offer finance and economics in India, right? So if you're comparing this program to others, I don't think there's anything that offers, a fully blown economics program with a finance add-on. You may have a finance kind of program altogether, commerce and so on, which doesn't have the kind of depth that we offer in economics. The add-on is small, but it's being added on to a very substantial economics degree. I hope that answers your question.
Another additional point to that is the finance courses you start taking from the second sem of your second year. If you want to explore finance courses before that, you can take some of the entrepreneurship courses that are cross-listed with the finance department. And the professors who teach that have stellar profiles. They teach courses like financial analytics, fundamentals of investing. And if you're someone who does not have a commerce background and want to pursue a career in finance, there are courses who teach you the basics of accounts also. So you get a sense of that.
There's also a very active finance club, isn't there? I know I haven't said anything about the student clubs, and maybe I'll leave that to Arshia as well, but I know they're super active. So we have a number of student-run societies and clubs that engage directly with economics. There's an economic society, of course. We now have a kind of heterodox economic society. We have a public policy society, and of course, there's a finance and investing club, and they're quite active on campus as well. And so I know they bring a lot of kind of big name investors and people in finance over to campus to chat with students and to, share their wisdom.
Right, being a part of some of the clubs that Professor mentioned, there's the Ashoka Investment Club, which is very well known, and you do stock pitches in there, so it gives you a great experience to share with your seniors who have a lot of experience in this field. Another question is about the research. What statistical tools are economists using nowadays? Do you think would it be beneficial to learn coding to handle statistics in today's economics?
That's a great question. What tools do we use? I mean, without getting, I guess, into too much detail, broadly, what the tools we use fall under a subject called econometrics. Depending on what you want to do. There's a very wide range of opportunities there and of different kinds of tools there that we want to use to answer specific questions. We do training in econometrics in Ashoka. Previously, it used to be a one semester course plus a one semester elective, and now with the 4 year degree, it's become a 2 semester course. So econometrics 1 and econometrics 2. We also do stats from scratch. So we don't assume students are familiar with stats or they remember their stats, even if they've done any. We started from the beginning and we offer that along with math as basically a prep course for the econometrics, because it's so important, right? In order to be able to do econometrics, we do have kind of a data science center and a bunch of other programs majors that think about data in slightly different ways. It's possible to take courses with them as well. Certainly, obviously, the economics department kind of focuses on how we look at data and how we do causal analysis, but there's an entire computer science department here, and they do a bunch of other things as well. Is coding important? Certainly, if you want to do a high level of research, I think having some kind of coding background is really important. It's probably too late to pitch this to class 12 students, which I assume is what most of you are. But certainly, I felt very early on in my foray into research that I could have really done with more exposure to coding when I was in high school. I didn't have it. So I learned everything. In fact, I hardly had any exposure in St. Stephen's College. They didn't have the infrastructure to help out really. So I had to learn everything from scratch, basically after graduating my undergraduate degree. All of you will start much earlier, of course. You can start at 18 or 17 or whenever it is you join undergrad. And if I was speaking to younger people, I would tell them to start earlier if they're really interested in data analysis. It's not that you can't learn these skills later. Of course, you can. It's just like with maths, just like with maths, when we say it's nice to be familiar with it and not intimidated by it. Exact same thing goes for computer programming, right? If you're not intimidated by it, it's basically a language, right? So if you're not intimidated by it, you can expand your set of skills very, very quickly. And the best way to not be intimidated by it is to do it as early as possible. So no matter how late it is, it's never too late. Like I said, I learned at 21. You can all start earlier. It's a very useful set of skills to have, especially these days, right? When people are doing data analysis, not just in research, not just in PhD programs, not just in universities, but also in the corporate world, right?
Thanks so much, Professor. Another question we have is about the program. I haven't studied economics since 11th and 12th, but I'm really interested in it and want to choose it as a career path. Can I apply for it?
You don't need economics in 11, 12 at all, right? No, 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 absolutely not. The only thing we encourage is maths because, as I said, it's nice to be familiar. But even that we don't mandate as such. So, yeah, absolutely, you can study economics no matter what your background in high school.
Another thing to add that the mandatory courses we have in our first year, they start from the 11th, 12th level. So even if you have not covered economics in 11th and 12th, it's essentially the same syllabus which we cover in 11th and 12th. So you won't be at par with the other students. Another question is, do students get guidance on what and how to decide their electives from the faculty or get a chance to experience different electives?
Guidance, yes, we have a system of mentoring and advising that has been set up across the university at Ashoka. So in your first year, you're assigned a mentor who is a faculty member, who can, kind of discuss what we call pastoral issues with you, how are things going at the university, how's your academic trajectory going on, so on. In the first year, students have usually not chosen a major, they are just exploring. Maybe they'll take some gateway courses in their second semester. So if you're thinking about an economics major, it's a good idea to do the math for econ course then, right? Even if you decide to change your mind later on. In the second year, students have to declare a major. And so then we move away from the mentoring and we switch to an advising system where you will be advised a faculty member who is in the department in which you are majoring. That advisor is someone you turn to discuss, opportunities like should I do a summer abroad? Does this course work? Should I do some research in this area? What elective should I take to meet some kind of goal and so on? We have many electives that you need to take. I think you take 6 as a part of the current 3-year program, and you'll be doing 8 as a part of the 4-year program. So, of course, you'll get to experience many electives. If you mean, can I try an elective and then if I don't like it, drop it? Yeah, we have a process for that as well. I think you can shop around for courses for a couple of weeks and then get a sense if you like it. Obviously, you can talk to your seniors or to other people who've taken a course. You can access the syllabus or the course catalog, try and understand if it interests you, and so on. So there's enough opportunity, I think, to get exposure to the different electives before you decide to take them.
Great. Thank you so much, Professor. Another question is, does Ashoka help with getting research assistant opportunities, both in Ashoka and other universities?
Does Ashoka help? I mean, okay, there are two things. One is that if it's an internship that the CDO can help with, so it's an application that you make through the CDO. Sure, that's something that Ashoka can do. Otherwise, within the university, I mean, it's a decentralized kind of matching process, right? You will know faculty by the end of a couple of years at Ashoka, and so you will yourself start reaching out to people and saying, "Hey, I really find your work interesting. Can I work with you?" And then, people who work with me are typically people who have been my students or I've interacted with them in the past. And so they, I hire them. We do have, I should mention, we have a Center for Economic Data and Analysis at Ashoka, CEDA. CEDA is a public facing center. So we provide data and analysis of that data for a public audience or a lay audience, a non-expert audience, on various issues of economic interest and public policy interest. CEDA hires a lot of RAs and interns, especially over the summer or even for a semester and so on. A lot of those are our students, and so they help with kind of synthesizing large data sets, generating insights from them. Maybe a new round of employment data came out. What does it say? Can we do some quick analysis of the data, write up some results, that sort of thing. Applications to other universities and individuals, that tends to be, again, decentralized. You can reach out to people yourself and apply. Some faculty members can certainly guide you on that, especially if they know people who are looking for work. Some big research programs or, like pre-doctoral research programs and so on, you will need letters of reference to even apply to them. Those will typically come from your teachers, right? Your faculty. So in that sense, we will also be supporting your applications more widely. Yeah.
Just to add to that, if you want to take inside Ashoka opportunities, like Professor mentioned, you can obviously mail the professor who has a similar area of interest in the research. And as per going outside Ashoka remains, like I mentioned, the Superset platform, there are research opportunities which come quite frequently. So quite recently, we had an internship opportunity to IIM Ahmedabad. So we have a selection process to that too. Another question is, what are some economics and finance theory questions that are asked in the Ashoka interview?
I don't know. I don't know if I should answer questions about the interview. I'm not, I've done a few, but we're not systematically. Maybe admissions people are best placed to answer those questions. Typically, I think they don't ask you technical questions, because again, our undergraduate degree starts from scratch, right? So we don't expect people to know any economics or finance before they get onto the program. I think the aim is to find out if you are a intellectually curious and motivated person. And so if you say you're interested in economics and finance, then sure, the interview panel may want to know, well, why are you interested? How have you pursued that interest? What books did you read? What do you think about some, like, kind of, I don't know, big well-known public issue that is taking place right now? Things like that. But you won't be expected to know any textbook material at the point of the interview.
Right. So, just in addition to that, like I remember my interview, and it was mostly based on what I've done and what my profile revolves around. So, more than an interview on the technicals, like Professor said, it's getting to know you on the basis of your profile. So, mine was based on my favorite economist. So, it really depends upon your application and what you put forward in that. Just last question, Professor. Any last few words of advice you have for the students thinking to applying to Ashoka?
Um, Well, I think I assume you've logged on to this webinar because you're interested in economics. Obviously, you will take this with some I'm biased here, but I think we are a really strong department in economics. And I would encourage you to apply to us if you are interested in studying economics. If we have an amazing kind of financial aid program as well, which I'm sure admissions will have told you about at some point. It's all there on the website. So if you're worried that this degree is expensive, don't let that stop you from applying. You should apply and then see where the process takes you. And yes, I think in terms of just the interview, I think Ashriya said it all. We're looking for curious and motivated people. And so, if you are interested in economics or you think you might be, try and pursue that interest. Try and read more, find out more at your level. There's no need to get technical or to learn any technical material, but try and be more aware of kind of pressing economics issues around us, and read more widely. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Professor. With that, we come to the end of the session. Thank you, Professor Anisha Sharma, for taking out time to participate in this session, to share your journey and answer some very interesting questions. Thank you, audience, for joining us today. Please take a minute to share your feedback with us. The link to the feedback form is provided in the chat box. Kindly note that the recording of this session will be available on Ashoka's YouTube channel in case you would like to share it with your friends. I would like to invite our audience for our upcoming webinar on student life at Ashoka, a sneak peek into Ashoka's vibrant and dynamic campus experience on Friday, 23rd February 2024, from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. The link to register for this session is provided in the chat box. Before we end the session, I would once again like to inform our audience that the deadline for round 3 applications of the undergraduate program is 12th April 2024. You do not have to wait for your 12 board marks or CUET to apply. If you have any further queries, you can also write to us at ugapply@ashoka.edu.in or contact us on the number given on the screen. Thank you and take care.